Good day. This is Craig Dees of Cloud Action welcoming you today to our complimentary technical session on how to enable eBonding between Salesforce, Remedyforce, and ServiceNow. Joining me today on the panel is Samir Kumar, the president and co-founder of Cloud Action, Dan Massey, manager of corporate systems at Continuant, who's going to walk through some and help us understand how his company is using eBonding today, and we'll be also hearing from Colin Parker, who's the director of actionHub, who will be walking us through the demo of our system. As people are still kind of joining us and logging in, let's go over a couple of housekeeping items. At the all attendee phones are in listen-only mode. We do want to hear questions, and we'll be answering every one of them. There's a control panel on the right side of your screen. Just ask questions using that question pane. I'll be monitoring that. And if we don't get to your question today, I'll respond to you via email. And just to let you also know, we're going to be we're recording the session today. So we'll be sending out a recording of it as well to everyone. And with that, I would like to go ahead and introduce our first speaker, Samir Kumar, the president and co-founder of Cloud Action. Samir?
Thank you, Craig, and good evening and good afternoon or good morning. It depends where you are while we are running this webinar. So in today's webinar, what you're going to learn, what is eBonding? We will talk about that. We will also talk about our customers, Continuant, who is into a managed service provider. They have hundreds and hundreds of customers. They provide different services to them, and how they are enabling their eBonding functional services using actionHub platform and their business value. And also, we will talk about pretty much a hands-on, session where we can show how Service Cloud and ServiceNow are integrated on the both way. So if you go to the next slide, Colin. So Continuant is a managed service provider based out of Seattle, Washington. They have been in business for 20 years. They support users globally, 2 million. Their customer, facing employees, their net promoter scores, they're pretty much on the high side. A year and a half ago, when Continuant decided to leverage Service Cloud to provide services to their customers, while they were going through the project, they kind of heard from their customer that why not we do some interface between customers' help desk system, particular ServiceNow, and Continuant, their Service Cloud. And that kind of laid the conversation, and we did a great partnership together to enable their eBonding requirement. So in the next slide, I'll talk about what really the kind of use case they're using as a part of eBonding. So if you go to the Continuant website, their business plan is to enable as much as eBonding between their system, which is Service Cloud, and ServiceNow or any other help desk. Some customers, their customer has either enterprise or a small size or a big size. Their customer could have maybe Remedy, maybe ServiceNow, maybe PMC product, maybe HP product, maybe Microsoft product. Doesn't matter. Whatever the customer has, their help desk system where the tickets get generated. So let's take a simple use case, IP phone. So you are a customer and you have an issue with your IP phone. What are you going to do? You will raise a ticket to your help desk system. In this case, let's say ServiceNow. When your help desk ticket gets analyzed and they need some help, they give it to Continuant in an outsourcing mode. Then before and after. Before, what you do, ServiceNow help desk guy will make a call saying, hey, we got a ticket here, work on that. With the eBonding, what we are able to do here is that the tickets, as soon as it gets created on a customer help desk system, in this case ServiceNow, they just press a button and ticket issues and the problem statement gets straight to the Continuant Service Cloud. The technician or engineers on the Continuant side starts working on your issues. As soon as they start making progress, updating, or they need some screenshot or anything, the communication between customer help desk, which is ServiceNow or BMC or any other product, and a Salesforce Service Cloud happening real time. So right now, their solution, which is eBonding, enabled by our actionHub, which is App Exchange Solutions, could able to deliver two things for incident, which is issues, or sometimes their customer may need some service request. Say, okay, I need A, or I need B, or C, whatever they need, they can make a request to their system, their service request system, which is a ServiceNow in this case, and the request flows to Continuant on their service cloud, and they could able to fulfill it. So if you see from the business value perspective, there is a complete 100% visibility between the customer's help desk and the Continuant. The ticket flow, the status flow, the SLAs all are intact as we speak. Real-time ticket status update. There is no email or phone call going on. Everything is happening. It's happening and getting recorded as a part of taking care of their customer day-to-day requirement. SLA is enforced, so there is no question of, oh, well, I didn't get the ticket, I didn't get your voicemail. Those things is no longer exist. Whatever happening on the customer help desk is also getting reflected on a Continuant Service Cloud system. Intuitive to increase customer and continuity productivity. So what it means is that for the customer, their productivity has gone up since they just deal with their help desk. And on the Continuant side, their technicians or engineers just log on to their system and get the information what they need in order to fulfill their service request or work on the issues or incident. Next slide, please. So this is just again, I'm a guy of pictures, so this is a word, 1,000 words here. So client environment is a ServiceNow or could be any other help desk. And on the Continuant side, they have a service cloud runs on a Salesforce platform. The actionHub is in the middle, does the magic. And you will see the magic pretty soon when Colin Parker is going to take you through how things work. Next slide, please. The other powerful value of actionHub, since it is the first, the no middleware integration platform built on a App Exchange on a Salesforce platform, what it means is that anything, everything on a Salesforce, you can connect on a Salesforce and outside. So what it means is that you will see Service Cloud integrations today in the webinar, but some customer may have Remedyforce. So if you have Remedyforce as a customers or as a managed service provider, and you want to integrate with outside, let's say ServiceNow or any other app like JIRA or Sales Cloud or SolarWinds, you can still use the actionHub to enable that. Today we are going to be just showing you how Service Cloud and ServiceNow kind of work together. But there are some videos we have posted on our social media channel where you can see some of the use case related to this particular slide. Next slide. So welcome now, Colin Parker, who is our Director of actionHub. He's going to take you through hands-on session of ServiceNow and a Service Cloud eBonding solution. Colin, floor is all yours now.
All right, thank you very much, Samir. Thanks everyone for joining today. I'll start off just briefly explaining what I'm going to show you. Right now, I'm looking at the actionHub rules, so I'm just going to give you a high-level overview of what I'm going to show you today. I'm going to concentrate on these 3 use cases right here that you see here that are enabled. So first off, we're going to go and create an incident in ServiceNow from a case in Service Cloud, and then the next 2 deal with passing notes and comments back and forth between the 2 systems in real time. So the managed service provider and the customer can communicate in real time and have all that tracked in their own systems. And then I'm actually going to do a 4th use case where we go back and resolve the initial case, but I'm going to build that for you at the end just to show you, how easy it is to build out these rules to make data flow back and forth between the 2 systems for your use cases. So with that being said, let's hop into it. I'm going to go and open up a new case in Service Cloud. So we'll fill in our contact and our account. So this is pretty important, especially in a Continuant use case. Everything is really centered around the account, right? Because that's the customer. They have hundreds of customers, and they might have there's different systems they need to integrate with. So you need to pick up on which customer this particular case is for. So a big key aspect to their integration and how it works today. We'll also pick our type here. We'll go with electronic. And then we'll say, in this case, someone's calling into Continuant about an issue. And then we'll pick our urgency and impact here. We just have a simple numbering scheme that if you're used to ITIL or ITSM systems, you're very familiar with that. Down below, we'll give it a subject. We'll say that there's a phone broken. And we'll just say the buttons are not working. So with that, it's pretty basic information about who it is, what's happening, giving your impact and urgency. We'll go ahead and save this. And what's happening in the background now is actionHub is going to pick this up, and it's going to go through and figure out whose account this is for, so it knows which system to send it to based on the rule. And it's going to go send it over to the other system and pass along this data that I've entered in here. So if I go over now to my incidents on my ServiceNow system, I'll go ahead and refresh this, and we should see our new incident pop up here. So you'll see we got our new one in for our phone is broken. We'll go ahead and open that up. So you see we got a lot of information over from our Service Cloud case. We have our caller information, our category comes over. We also have our short description, and below we get our description. We get our case number, and another interesting point is we get our urgency and impact. Now you might notice that these are slightly different than what we put in on our case side, and that's okay, because built into actionHub we have a translation engine where we can translate, you can build out very simple mapping rules to translate values from one system to the other, which is really important for these eBonding systems, especially on these big platforms like ServiceNow and Salesforce. You don't want to have to go and change each system to line up, especially when you're dealing with hundreds of customers, right? It's just not going to be feasible to go in and change these systems so these values line up. It becomes kind of an administration nightmare very quickly when you try to go down that path. So we built it in so for each different integration you have, you can build these different mappings. So even if the values don't quite line up between the 2 systems, you can still get the information over there, the correct information in the right fields. So very important part of doing the eBonding. So as you can see, everything's over here. What we'll do next is we'll put in a note here to go send back. So we'll just say, we're interested on the status. And we'll post that. And for the technically minded, what's happening here is we actually have a very small ServiceNow application that sits here, and it'll go and forward data into actionHub. this allows us to actually write our rules inside of actionHub on Salesforce to go ahead and process those. And this uses ServiceNow's event and action mechanism. So we're kind of using a lot of their technology on their side to make sure you get the best integration possible and use their best practices as well. So if I go back over to my case in Salesforce, I'll go ahead and reload our case, and you'll see I got my under my case comments I have our new note from ServiceNow. So, and then just like we sent the note over here, I can send one back and let them know new phone is coming tomorrow. So then you can talk back and forth, everything's logged. You know, so if you never need to go back for that audit trail, which is a big deal to some people, you know, when you do those audits, you have all that information stored in here. You don't have to worry about digging through emails or anything like that. So if we go back over to our incident here, and we'll go ahead and refresh this. You'll see that we have our new note that shows up on our ServiceNow side. So, you know, two-way integration, just like Samir talked about, you know, and being able to collaborate in real time there. So the last use case is obviously you need to resolve this incident once they get the new phone in and everything's working. So I'm going to hop back over into actionHub. And I'm going to go ahead, I'll just copy this name to make it easy for me, and I'm going to create a new rule. And we'll get this number 4, and we'll say resolve case. So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to build out a rule that when, just to show you kind of the two-way updates, that when we resolve an incident in ServiceNow, it's going to go and resolve our case on the Service Cloud side. So for this, our source is going to be our ServiceNow environment. So these are a list of connections that you can use. So this is how you can pick, you know, any different kind of system that you might hook up with, whether it's, you know, Sharewell, Remedyforce, anything like that, TFS, JIRA, all of our different adapters that we use. So with that being done, we get a list. We actually pull out all the tables, and they have a lot of them in ServiceNow. And so we're going to be looking for our incident, right? Because we want to get it whenever an incident comes over. So this allows you to, you know, really write rules against any table or object that's in ServiceNow. So now once we have that selected, our source object, we're going to go and write some criteria about, you know, when we actually want this rule to run. So our big thing on this is resolving the case. So we're going to say that our state, and also you'll see here that we have two different values. We have a display value and a regular value. And in ServiceNow, if you're familiar with it, you can get both in the metadata. So whether it's an underlying ID or the actual, you know, label. So we provide you with both in case, you know, depending on your needs, you might need one or the other. So in this case, we'll grab the display value, and we just want to make sure that this is equal to resolved, because that's the only thing we care about when we send the update over. We don't want to get any other updates to update our case at this point. So now that we have our source and our criteria information filled out, we can move down to our action here. So our action is what's actually going to go and update our case. So from our connections list, again, we're going to go ahead and pick Salesforce. Since we're going to update an object in Salesforce, which is going to be our case. And then from our list here, just like before, we're going to have a list of all of our objects inside of Salesforce. So in this case, we're going to pick the case object. But, you know, if you're using Remedyforce or anything like that, you'll be able to see that we also have the incident available, right? So it's really just a matter of switching what object you're using. If you're, you know, using different applications on the platform, you use the same connection, it's just hooking it up to a different object. So, very easy to change or move around based on your needs. So we'll pick case here. And then for our field mappings, we also pull in the metadata here from both systems. So from a drop-down, I have all my fields on my case here. So the most important one we got to map first is our case ID, so we know which case we're actually updating. And then we have all of our fields again from the ServiceNow side. So we just have to go and find our correlation ID. This is the where we store the ID of our Salesforce case when it gets created. So that's mapped. We also want to go and update the status, obviously. So to set it to resolved, and then we can just map that over to our state value here. And then one additional thing, typically you want to get some kind of information about the status, what happened, what got updated. So what we can do is we have a resolution field on our case. And then I'm going to show you a little bit of the expression builder here just to show you, I've been just showing you the quick and easy mappings between the two, but you can also get more complicated if you want to, if you need some more power for your integration. So what this allows you to do is you can basically easily concatenate fields together. So for example, in ServiceNow, they have the close notes in the close code. So what we can do is if we want both that information and we only have one field on the case for our resolution, we can just put our close code in here and then just underneath put our close notes, right? So now, easy enough, we've just concatenated these two fields into our one, and that's all you have to do. And so that's it for writing a rule. I just have to remember to enable it and give it a save. And we should be ready to go here. Let's make sure it goes through. All right. So let's go hop back over into our our incident in ServiceNow. We'll try to go ahead and resolve it. There's a few fields we need to fill in. One is the you have to do a customer note. So in this case, we'll say, maybe the help desk has ran into the customer after they got their new phone, and they said, okay, everything's great, it's working fine. Say customer all working. And so this is kind of nice too, because you don't have to worry about waiting to hear back from the customer. If someone at the particular customer site knows it's working, they can just go in here to their own issue and mark it as resolved. The MSP doesn't have to wait back to hear from that particular person that the issue is completed. And so we'll go down here, we have the close code that I talked about. So we'll say solve permanently, and we'll just say new phone provided. So with all that information filled in, we can go ahead and resolve our incident. One thing that I forgot to mention as well, when we're going into ServiceNow, we're actually using the import sets. If you're familiar with ServiceNow, that's the best practice way to go and integrate the two systems, or integrate in from another system. That's what they recommend, and that's how basically your application can only get onto their marketplace, is if you use import sets. You can't just go through the normal REST API. So when we're wiring things up in our rule inside of inside of actionHub, we map to those import set tables, and we pull in all the data from that, so you can easily map to them and have everything working that way. So let's go back over and check on our case. We'll give it a refresh here, and you can see our status is now resolved. And if you scroll down, you can see inside of our resolution we have that closure code and our close notes provided. So really, very simple use cases I showed you today, but hopefully you can see, how powerful this can be and extrapolate out to your own use cases, and that, even if you aren't using Service Cloud today, or using some other kind of application on the platform, actionHub is very easy to use for that as well. So let me bring back up the presentation, and Samir can take it from here.
All right, thank you, Colin. I think, man, you pretty much get all this done in a 15 to 20 minutes. So let's go to the next slide. So again, this is all done by Cloud Action. We have our consulting arm, also the software arm, which is actionHub. Colin Parker is heading that group. Just a little bit of introduction, who we are and what we do. So Cloud Action is a purely focused on ITSM solution in the cloud and a Salesforce. So ITSM in the cloud, our leading product implementation, what we do is Remedyforce and ServiceNow. And on the Salesforce side, we are into integrations, implementation of CRM and a Service Cloud. When we co-founded this 24 months to 30 months by now, we have done 200 plus implementation of ITSM in the cloud, which equal Remedyforce and a ServiceNow implementation. Again, when we see a problem, we try to come up with a better idea and a simplified way to get things done. Like you have seen, and I'll go through some questions. There are one of the interesting question is, normally people try to do ServiceNow to Service Cloud integration. It takes a good amount of time and effort to do that. Here you would have seen we can get this done in a few days versus few months or few weeks. So that's the value of simple, and that's the value of deliver the results on time, especially when you are in a cloud, on a cloud environment where everybody wants everything like yesterday. So actionHub does a great job there. We have a total team of 50 plus between United States and our offshore development centers in India. And we are a very strategic partner of ServiceNow, BMC, and Salesforce. Not only we are their consulting partner, we are also their technology partner. In fact, actionHub is an OEM part of Remedyforce and some other Salesforce platform we're using it. Let's go to the next slide. So now it brings us to the tail end of our webinar today. We have some questions, and I think we can get some question answered today. Some of the questions we cannot. Craig Dees will be able to send it. So I think on the panel we have a Dan from Continuant, Colin Parker, and myself will answer the question has come out here. So I think the first question I have for Dan, and the question is how do you do this eBonding? Can you give us your perspective from start when you sign up a customer for eBonding and take it to the implementation? That's the question I got for you, Dan.
Sure, thanks, Samir. So as you mentioned, I'm Dan, Corporate Systems Manager for Continuant, and we've been in partnership with Cloud Action for some time. So when we bring on onboarding a new customer or an existing customer and bring them onto an ITSM integration, eBonding, we'll assign a project manager and we'll go through this service design piece. And really that's the harder part, is to align the business processes between two organizations. So that's what we do. We get a project manager, we get the design, we go through a service transition piece where we'll do quality assurance within a dev sandbox. But really, the great thing about actionHub is the technical implementation is now reduced to a matter of a graphic user interface where you can easily switch rules, change rules to align with that business partner. So once we go through a quality assurance, business processes have been defined and mapped accordingly within the design. We'll go through a service transition phase where we'll actually do some quality assurance testing, unit testing, and then actual documentation of the business processes, and then actual coordinate a delivery schedule into production, and we get that aligned. So.
Okay, thanks, Dan. I have another question. I think it's for you, Colin. So the question is, when you set up the rule to enable requirement, if the requirement changes or use case changes, what do you do? Can you give us your way? How do you kind of make things as per the new requirement?
Yeah, so the nice thing about, being able to use the graphical user interface like Dan mentioned is, you have all the fields and everything you need right inside the rule UI. So, if you want to add a field, which happens all the time, right? Maybe the customer's added a field that's important for reporting. You can easily just go in and update the rule to add the new mapping, and all the all the data that's flowing from there on out will update and use that new mapping that you've added. So it's very easy to update. You don't have to deal with any code or changing anything complicated. It's really just about giving that new field mapping and where it should go. And also I'll mention here is, and I didn't show this in the demo, but we have first class support for logging. So let's say for some reason the field mapping is throwing an error or something bad's happening. We store a whole log that we generate alerts off of, so you can actively monitor that log and see what's happening in real time and get notifications on it. So if something is happening, you can get on it right away, which is important, if you're making changes in a system and things like that.
Thank you, Colin. I think I have another question. The question is where they can download trial version, and I think there is an associated question, and then how do they test the product and the licensing? I can answer that question. Basically, you go to App Exchange. It's an App Exchange approved product. You go to App Exchange on a Salesforce, look for actionHub. Craig will send you the link there and download it. You can use it as a trial version. And licensing is very simple. It's a connector base. So if you use, let's say, Service Cloud to ServiceNow, you will pay for only one license, and you can use it in a multiple environment. So let's say you have a prod, non-prod, QA, whatever it is, you just pay for one license. And also on top of that, I can add one extra information for everybody that actionHub team provides support, includes some training, day-to-day, some other technical assistant. So we kind of lump some all that together as a part of licensing to enable your product. I think there are some more questions, Craig, but I like to respect people's time, so hand it over to you.
Okay, thanks. We actually do have a question here from one of the folks. How do you map ServiceNow and Cloud Action before you begin to set up rules? I think it's how did you map ServiceNow in actionHub before you began to set up rules? Colin, can you answer that?
Yeah, so typically we have a few different documents we use with our implementation managers to go through a few sessions, and Dan's familiar with this as well. We go through, typically it's what we call like a workbook. We have an Excel spreadsheet that we use to go and map out the different fields that are important. I think that's probably, the most important step is for the two, when you're talking about eBonding, is the two companies coming together and say what's really important, what's the data that we need back and forth between the two systems, either for reporting, just for staff getting the right information that they need. So, mapping those things together in the workbook. And once you do that, I mentioned in the demo the translation engine we have built in. So that's kind of the next piece. Once you figure out the fields in the workbook, you also have to figure out how the values of those fields are going to map between the two systems. So we use kind of a workbook that we have to do those kind of things to help our customers along.
Okay, thanks, Colin. I hope that answered the question. If it didn't, we will hopefully the person can get back in touch with me. And that, I believe, brings us to the end of our webinar. I want to thank everyone for attending. As I mentioned earlier, we recorded this session. or we're recording it, and I will send out that that link to everyone who registered, so you can go back if there's something you want to check out again or rehear. Also want to point you out to some resources that we have to online that you know, we have on our website. We have a bunch of stuff, helpful info, blogs, videos, use case studies, quite a few white papers on how to not only use actionHub, but how to best practices in ITSM in the cloud. And we also have the Ask Us Now service, which just ask us a question about your particular issue, and we'll get back to you in guaranteed in 24 hours. And with that, I will we'll bring the webinar to a close. And again, I appreciate it, and we'll be looking forward to our next technical session, and I'll let everybody know about that. Thank you.